Hello there and welcome back to more guidelines on where to hike and how to have a good time in Switzerland. And today we're looking at the north shore of the Thunersee, Thunersee being Lake Thun in German, which is a bit of an odd name given that Thun means tuna, but you don't get any tuna here. But anyway, that's their problem, not ours. I'm sure you can get tuna in the supermarket if you want it, so not to worry. Anyway, confusingly enough, the shot you see here is actually one of the south shore of the Thunersee, but it's taken from the north shore. So you get the idea of what you can see by looking at it, which I hope makes sense. That's actually Spitz in the background, if anybody's interested. Taken above from the region of Beatenberg, which is roughly where the characters learn to go paragliding in the novel. It's also the area where Harris and Alice make their escape while Jessica is water skiing on the Thunersee by accident. So this is where Harris and Alice are actually trying to get to. You can see there that it's the top end of the funicular railway which runs up the side from the lake shore itself down at the bottom. The Swiss are pretty good at these things. They're basically trains which go up mountains and down again, which is very handy if you're not so much into walking up and down them. You can still go up the top, you can walk along a bit, and you can come down again. It's a great mechanism and it's there for everybody as long as you pay. So what you see here is actually a view from Beatenberg looking down to the village of Sigrisville, which is really where the North Shore starts in terms of all the interesting stuff, as in what you can go climbing up. Sigrisville is a pretty little town, definitely worth visiting. Referred to in the book, since it's where one of the cops comes from who interrogates Harris and Alice, although they get away with it. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. But nothing actually happens in Sigrisville in the book itself. Nonetheless, it's worth you going there for sure. Here is Habkern, which is an exceptionally pretty little place, taken here at round about dusk. Overlooking Interlaken, but you can't see the tacky bits of Interlaken, so not to worry. Interlaken is kind of just behind that ridge to the left in the photo, if you get the idea. But Habkern really is great. It's near, again, to where they learn to go paragliding in the book. It's got some great hotels, and it's easy enough to get to. There's a bus there from Interlaken if you need it, but you can certainly go hiking up there as well. It's definitely worth it. You can see some great things around there. You can also see some slightly strange ones. I remember hiking from Habkern up to Harderkulm, which is again on that ridge to the left in the photo, and coming across somebody who was basically asleep on Sunday morning on a bench at the top of the mountain hiking path. I mean, okay, now I'm not one to mock the homeless, don't get me wrong. People who sleep on benches, that's a sad state of affairs and to be pitied. It's just not something you kind of expect to see up the top of the mountains, really. I mean, not in this kind of landscape. This is just behind where Habkern is, on the other side of the ridge overlooking the Thunersee. Nice piece of real estate, but you don't think you're going to get too far asking people for change for a coffee here or something. I mean, there's one bus every hour and there are about 2 people on it. The authorities, I can't remember if the authorities are forbidding people or recommending that they don't sleep rough in the Alps. I really wouldn't recommend it myself. It's probably suicidal in terms of hypothermia if you do it outside of May through September. Quite possibly if you do it during May through September, so really not to be recommended. And it's also worth noting that the Alps are great places, but you need to show a bit of respect. The mountains are not your friend, as the saying goes, and is quoted by Jessica in the book itself. because there are some odd things there. And walking around them in the summer, not a problem. But if you want to sleep rough, I wouldn't recommend it. There are a few boars. I'm not sure if there are bears in Switzerland, but certainly Romania, Italy and others have been reintroducing brown bears, I think even black bears, into the Alps, which are not that hostile unless you go up and antagonize them, but it's not a good idea. And you don't want to be sleeping on a bench in said circumstances. There are also a few odd bits and pieces which happen. Just to give you one example, there's the story of a guy who was out hunting. There are certain areas which are just marked off for hunting. You can't go into them, you don't go hiking, you would have to break the law in order to get in there. But this guy was there doing his hunting as he had the permit to do. And he saw the back end of a boar, as he thought, right there up above him. So he took a shot and hit it. Went up to see what he'd got, except it wasn't a boar. What he'd hit was the rear end of a guy who was tending his illegal wheat patch in this part of the mountainside. I'm not quite sure how all that panned out in the end when the cops got involved, but it just goes to show that you want to stick to the rules. You respect the Alps, you'll enjoy it, but don't go doing anything stupid. Thanks very much. Have a great day.